On this week's episode of Amari Purple Talk, we're getting the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition. Oh yeah! Time. Amari Purple Talk starts now. We're not going to give this episode a number. We're not going to give that number any energy. So we're just going to go and talk about Sign of the Times. Final episode. Sign of the Times. My favorite album. Let's listen. Welcome to Amari Purple Talk, a Prince podcast where I share my thoughts on the Prince musical singularity. I'm Richard Cole, your imagination funk soloist, and let's get started. All right, so guess what? We are getting a super deluxe edition of The Vault. Old Friends for Sale, 10 CDs, 5 DVDs. It's going to be awesome, and I'm just kidding. What we're getting is, finally, on September 25th, the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition, and I mean super. I mean, time. Super Deluxe Edition. 63 bonus tracks, DVD, 8 CDs, 13 vinyl LPs, and it doesn't have everything, but 63 tracks from the vault. I'll take it. I am super excited. This is my favorite Prince album, hands down. I know Dirty Mind was the gateway. I was down with the Controversy, 1999 era, another favorite era, but this right here, this album right here is my all-time favorite Prince album. I mean, it was the best time to be around in 1987 when this dropped. And I can go on and on, but we're going to talk about the Super Deluxe Edition, what we're getting, and which version should you buy. So, again, this will be released on September 25th. It will be released on CD. It will be released on vinyl. And just like the Purple Rain Super Deluxe and 1999 Super Deluxe, there'll be vault material, single edits, B-sides, extended versions of B-sides, and this is just going to be absolutely amazing. It's also going to come with a 120-page book with liner notes, once again, by the man Dwayne Tudall. Dave Chappelle is contributing. Man, this is, I'll tell you, like I said, I'm just over the cherry moon. Not under it, over it with this one. So let's start with a breakdown of what you're actually getting. So there's going to be a Super Deluxe Edition 8 CD plus DVD version. There's a 13 vinyl LP DVD plus audio download and streaming. There is a 3 CD, 4 LP, 180 gram vinyl, and that comes with a download, and it's also available on streaming services, or will be available on streaming services. There is also the remastered album that will come in either 2 CD or 2 LP, which will also be 180 gram peach vinyl. So no more purple vinyl, folks, peach vinyl. So, and that also comes with the download code and will also be available for streaming. All right, so let's break down what we're getting. So your first CD or your first and second CDs, they will consist of the remastered album. So you're getting a 2020 remastered version of the Sign of the Times album as it was released in March of 1987. So it'll be a remaster of that album. And then you're going to get a third CD, or if you're getting the vinyl, it would be album 3 and 4, which will consist of single mixes plus edits. So there's, for example, a single edit of the Sign of the Times single, which was a 7-inch single edit, or as we used to call them back in the day, 45s, along with its B-side, La La La, He He He. And let's see, looks like there's an alternate edit of La La La, He 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 as well. It's called the Highly Explosive 7-inch single edit. Let's see. Which I'm going to have to double check my B-sides on that one. I think that one probably meant to say 12-inch single edit. I'm not sure. But you're also getting Shockadelica, both the single version as well as the 12-inch version. The extended version of You Got the Look. Housequake, the single edit of that, plus the 7 minutes Moquake, which was on the 12-inch single. And of course, I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man and Hot Thing, which Hot Thing has the single edit, an extended remix version, as well as a dub version too. So that would consist of CD 3 and LP 3 and 4. So now CD 4 and LP 5 and 6. This is the beginning of the vault material. And this is probably the selling point, or one of the main selling points of owning this set. In addition to having finally a remastered version, which will have better sound quality, not just vinyl wise, but definitely the CD, where yes, Sign of the Times definitely needed a serious remaster on that. We'll discuss that a little bit later. But getting back to CD 4 and LP 5 and 6, which is, like I said, the beginning of material from the vault. Of course, we're loaded with a lot of the Dream Factory. So let's backtrack a little bit for a lot of our newbies that may not be familiar with the whole history of the Sign of the Times album. Basically, between March of 1986 and roughly about January of 1987, Prince was heavily recording. First in the works was a new Prince and the Revolution album titled Dream Factory. But later, in 1986, he disbanded the Revolution, decided he wanted to go back to having everything being produced, written, arranged, and performed by Prince on his albums. So from there, he did an album called Camille, which was one of his many aliases. He was going to kind of sneak this album out and not use the name Prince on it. But then that changed. So he took mostly tracks from Dream Factory and Camille, reworked some of them, and came out with an album, a three LP album titled Crystal Ball. Warner Brothers said that was a bit too much, too much marketing, too much expense to promote and try to sell a 3 LP set and make it profitable. Now, never mind the fact that there was a little album that came out in 1970 by some guy named George Harrison. I think he was a Beatle or something. Anyway, kidding, folks. If you listen to my show, the Beatles get a mention just about every other episode practically. That I should probably do a Beatles podcast at some point. But George Harrison's first solo album was 3 LPs long, and that was the All Things Must Pass album, and it's probably among the most popular, and maybe probably amongst the best selling. I don't know about the sales figures, but among the best solo records by any of the Beatles. It's in that top 10 with that. So, fast forward to the 80s, I guess, things are different. Music business is changing and trying to do 3 LPs. But much to Prince's chagrin, he basically decided to whittle the album down to 2 LPs. And thus, here we have our Sign of the Times album. So a good chunk of this material represents the sort of shelved albums. These albums were actually pressed, given catalog numbers, and that does include, I believe, definitely Dream Factory and Camille. I'm not sure if Crystal Ball itself was ever cataloged. And again, for the newbies, this is not to be confused with the 1998 compilation of Crystal Ball, which included in its entirety a track that was originally going to be on Sign of the Times, and a few other tracks as well. Some were intended for Dream Factory, but again, we'll kind of cover that briefly in a minute. Let's move on to CD 5, which would be albums 7 and 8. And again, more vault material. Let's see, probably the standouts for me on this one would be The Ball. This is one I do have a bootleg of, and the quality is just crappy. I think the first version I had was on a cassette, and that was really low, crappy bootleg quality. I have a later acquisition of it. It's a little bit better. I've actually made the track listing onto CD based on the supposed track listing for the original Crystal Ball, and this track is on it. There's another one, the Cocoa Boys. That's another one that's really pretty funky track. Witness for the Prosecution, that second version. The first version there's an advanced track that's available on all the streaming services, and you can purchase as a download as well. And actually, I'm doing a separate thing for YouTube discussing my reaction to that. So by all means, definitely check that out. Okay, and there's also a 6 CD, which would be on vinyl, albums 9 and 10. Again, even more vault material. Let's see. Standout for that one would be Rebirth of the Flesh. This was originally intended to open the 3 LP Crystal Ball. It was also the opener for the Camille album. This is sort of like a holy grail track for a lot of us Prince supporters. And finally, we're getting a clean, mixed, pristine copy of it, and it'll be officially released. So that's one I'm definitely excited to see, or hear actually. And then we have CD 7 and 8, which would be albums 11 through 13. And this is the Live in Utrecht from June 20th of 1987. And this would be basically a live version of the Sign of the Times tour. I have a couple of bootlegs from that tour. So this will be nice to get a pristine and mixed, professional, official quality. Now, the estate there biting the boots, which is a segment I normally do on this show, proposing ideas of certain legendary shows or unreleased tracks or albums that the estate should consider to release. So I'm glad this is one that's coming out. And then there is the DVD that would be The Benefit, that was live at Paisley Park from December 31st of 1987. And this filmed performance is significant because it has an appearance from Miles Davis in it. Again, it's another Holy Grail item that a lot of us supporters have been wanting to see released officially, and now it's getting the official release. All right, so if you're not going to get the 8 CD or the 13 LP/DVD edition, there is available a 3 CD or 4 LP 180 gram plus digital version that you can purchase, and that will consist of the first 2 CDs and first 2 LPs of the 2020 remastered version of the album. And then a third CD, which would be albums 3 and 4, would contain the single releases, those mixes, as well as the 12-inch extended versions of the indicated songs like Shockadelica, 7 Minutes More Quake, or 7 Minutes Mo Quake. And then there's just the remastered album itself, which is just 2 CDs or 2 LPs, again in 180 gram vinyl. There is also a limited edition of 7-inch singles on vinyl. That, I think, it was sold out on either Amazon. You may still be able to get them directly from the Prince Estate's website. But if you're interested in having that as part of your collection, if you're a completist, definitely by all means check that out as well. So, in going over this, which version should you get? Well, again, it just depends on the type of collector. I know, economics, and especially now, for a lot of people, money is going to be a little hard to come by, and you may not be in a position to get the 8 CDs or the 13 LPs. So maybe just having the remastered album, that's always a plus. Like I said, it's a favorite album amongst many of us. And I know definitely it's something that I've been wanting for a long time. So, there is that. If you are a serious collector or completist, then definitely, go for the 8 CDs. Definitely go for the 13 LP vinyl. Or, go ahead and get the 7-inch singles. I know for me, like I said, I always tend to go for the CDs first. Budget-wise, it's more cost-efficient for me just to go for the CDs. And then somewhere down the road, I'll pick up the vinyl. Actually, I'm behind on a lot of Prince vinyl. But hopefully, I think probably between after the Sign of the Times release comes out, and by the time there's an announcement of the next Super Deluxe Edition, I'll try to have some more Prince vinyl under my belt of some of the stuff that has come out within the last, say, year and a half or 2 years or so. So, again, like I said, I am very, very, very excited about getting this. I remember back in 1987, probably the year before, for some stupid reason, we gave up vinyl. Me and a friend of mine, both musicians, and I don't know what the deal. It was just like, I don't know. We drank the CD Kool-Aid. The way that they were marketing CDs, and that's the thing, a selling point since like the early '80s. Even I remember reading an article, I think like in Time magazine, about how like this was the thing in Japan. They had developed the CD and the benefits of the CD. So, like I said, we just drank the. It's like, okay, well, we'll get CDs, although they were kind of more expensive then than pretty much what they are now. Like a single CD, you can pretty much get for sometimes, depending, anywhere between less than $10. If it comes out the day of release, or worst case scenario, maybe $13. But back then they were like damn near $20 for a CD. But the happy medium for a lot of us were cassettes, because we had cars, or, we all rode around and, with whatever friend had a car or something. And, cassettes were the thing. So that was pretty much it. So we would get the CD, maybe dub it to a cassette, or just flat out buy the cassette. So my memories of that album are mainly from the cassette with that. And I think I still bought some of the 12-inch singles on vinyl for that. Or again, somebody probably made a copy for me of some of the stuff. I know Shockadelic I didn't have on vinyl. And some of the subsequent ones too. But I know I did have the Sign of the Times 12-inch single with the extended version of La La La, He on the back of it. And that, the cassette sound. And from what I found out recently, is that with the case of the Sign of the Times CD, that was made from the cassette master. So the quality is very low on CD. And it really wasn't noticeable until like around the 90s. Maybe the later 90s, especially as like the 20-bit and the 24-bit mastering started to become the norm. Then without those classic Prince albums getting that same treatment, yeah, the sound quality on CD was definitely inferior. Now, your best listening experience until the Super Deluxe is released, your best listening experience is going to be either the original vinyl, the original cassette, or the 2015 180 gram vinyl mix or master. I recently acquired that version on vinyl, and I was listening to that just to kind of get hyped for the show, and just to kind of do a little comparison, and plus kind of give it one last go round, because I'll probably give it a break until I actually get the Super Deluxe Edition with that. And like I said, to me, for my ears, that is the best listening experience until we get this Super Deluxe Edition for that. So for those of you that are sort of completists or audiophiles, if you don't already have the 2015 180 gram version of Sign of the Times, I recommend you get that one, unless you can get an original copy that was pressed around 1987 or slightly later with that. As far as the bonus tracks, the vault stuff, there was an article that popped up today as I was preparing the show notes regarding some of the classic stuff that's not going to be part of this. And it didn't really occur to me. I noticed initially, that Joy and Repetition was omitted, as well as Rebirth of the Flesh, and Rebirth. No, that's wrong. So let's see. Fill You Up, Rock Hard in a Funky Place, that was omitted. Joy and Repetition was omitted. So I was thinking about mostly those 3 tracks with that. And also, too, the long version of Crystal Ball. But it was like, okay, well, I can live with the 7-inch edit, I guess. However, this article, it's go on ultimateprince.com, and there's an article regarding the tracks that are not going to be on the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition. And let me go ahead and pull up my notes here. All right, so the official title is called The Songs Missing from Prince's Sign of the Times box set. And like I said, in addition to the tracks that I just mentioned, the article mentions the songs Dream Factory, Last Heart, Movie Star, Sexual Suicide, and the full-length 10-minute plus version of Crystal Ball. So, also check out, Super Deluxe Edition. There's an article or an interview with Michael Howe discussing the Sign of the Times box set. And basically what he mentioned was that because those songs are tied up with the release of Crystal Ball, the 1998 compilation, I guess the logistics of trying to get those tracks on, that was an issue. But I'm actually going to speculate and say this, that because, yes, the estate, not necessarily the family, Prince's siblings per se, but the estate as an organization, since they have the separate deal with Sony, and this Sign of the Times Super Deluxe will be a Warner Brothers release, because they still have the rights to the classic material up until 2021. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and speculate that we're probably going to get a Crystal Ball reissue. Now, whether or not it may be just in time for Christmas. Because I think that Warner Brothers, I doubt, will release anything else major, just that soon after Sign of the Times Deluxe. I think what will happen is that come around 2021, maybe we'll finally see a Parade Super Deluxe Edition come from Warner Brothers, since they will have retained the rights to all the movie soundtrack stuff. I think you'll probably see that at some point. So I'm thinking right now that what Sony will do. So we got just recently the One Night Alone box set, which included the One Night Alone piano and voice studio album, as well as a reissue of the Rainbow Children. So those were just released by Sony just a few weeks ago. And therefore, I would guess that maybe just in time for Christmas, possibly just, I can see them just doing a Crystal Ball reissue, the 1998 version. And basically, I guess if you have Graffiti Bridge, now the issues with that is if you go to make your own playlist, it won't be exactly how Prince intended the configuration for Crystal Ball, or the sequencing of the 1987 Crystal Ball version. But like I said, I'm going to go on a limb and say that will probably see a Crystal Ball 1998 reissue with those songs intact. And in that way, I mean, you can already go on your Spotify or Tidal, and you can still kind of make somewhat of a playlist, especially once you get the Super Deluxe version. You can kind of configure it from there. Again, with the exception or the omission of the long version of Fill You Up. That will probably become the Holy Grail. So with that being said, in the short term, I think you will get a Crystal Ball reissue that will sort of kind of capitalize on the fact that you, by that particular point, you would already have the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition. And I'm going to say this. Once it's 2021, after that, it won't be 2022, it won't be 2023, 24, or even 25. But I would fathom to say somewhere past 2025, I believe that Sony will come out with a complete box set, the complete Sign of the Times set. It would be probably in scope of things like complete version or complete sets of Miles Davis. Let's see. Bitches Brew is one. Let's see. There's so many. They've gone and done like complete sets of albums where a single album. That's the only one that's popping in my head right now. I'm not sure if there's one of Sketches of Spain, but definitely there's a set like with his work with Coltrane. There's like a big, huge 10 CD set of that. There's the magnitude of a lot of the Bob Dylan stuff. Probably the most recent was the Rolling Thunder Live, where it was like about 10 CDs of that tour. Before that, there was like Blood on the Tracks, which was an expansive, complete set. And then, of course, you had shorter, 2-3 CD sets or whatever. Just kind of like with the Super Deluxe Edition as well. Here, you're getting 8 CDs, 13 LPs, or you can buy 3 CDs, or you can just buy the album itself. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that sometime after 2025, we're going to get a complete Sign of the Times set from Sony, which would definitely include every single track. And now what we might get before then, and I would say maybe not necessarily, well, I don't know. We'll save that for a topic for next week's episode. But I'm going to go on a limb and say that probably before you see a complete Sign of the Times box set from Sony, you will get them releasing Dream Factory as a standalone CD release, Camille as a standalone CD release, and maybe before or maybe after Sign of the Times box, you might get a Crystal Ball set sequenced, in the way that Prince originally intended. Yeah, I would say that. I would say definitely out of those 3 at some point, because if I'm looking at maybe not necessarily say Miles Davis or Bob Dylan per se, as far as like a lot of their legacy reissues that Sony has done. But if you look at a lot of the Jimi Hendrix stuff that has come out, and especially since the Hendrix estate did the licensing agreement with Sony back in 2009. Since then, there are 3 compilations. Now, Jimmy's different because he only made 3 albums, actually 4 albums during his lifetime. One of those was Contract Obligation, but 3 official legendary classic albums. The Band of Gypsies thing, which was a Contract Obligation thing. And then he was in the midst of working on a new album. Now, basically, since they first got the rights back, episode 2 of Amari Purple Talk goes more into depth about the whole Hendrix thing. But basically, long story short, one of the first original compilations that the Hendrix estate put out, they put out all the classic stuff first. The Are You Experienced, Axis Bold as Love, Electric Ladyland. And then the very first original compilation of vault material from Hendrix was the First Rays of the New Rising Sun. And then that was quickly followed up with South Saturn Delta. Those 2. So if the estate, the Prince estate and Sony kind of followed that particular template, I wouldn't be surprised if, like I said, within those first 4 to 5 years of them having the classic catalog, because you can best believe you're either going to see, like I said, we'll cover this next episode, so tune in next week, folks. But let's just say I think you're going to start to see a super deluxe edition of something from the classic period from Sony, but definitely an original compilation based on vault material alone. I think you're going to see either Crystal Ball, I would wager that Crystal Ball, or Dream Factory. Maybe not necessarily even in that order, but I would say something like a Camille you would probably see come out like as a record store day release. But I'm a guess that all 3 will be released. So with that being said, let's definitely enjoy the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition. Like I said, if any of you remember me, my call sign was Funkicidal on the NPG Music Club. I'm sure there were a lot of people that were just as vocal as I was, but I'm going to go on a limb and say I was probably one of the first, even back then, saying, hey, you need to have a Sign of the Times Deluxe Edition, and it should include this from the vault, and come on with it. So here it is. Oh, what is this? Yeah, 2004. Let's see, that was 2004. 14, 20. So like 16 years practically. Okay, bad at math, folks. But man, finally, we're getting to see some stuff. I still haven't digested the 1999 Super Deluxe fully. I mean, I played it. It was heavy rotation for a good long while since I got it. But the One Night Alone set, there's stuff that I just haven't had. I need like 6 months off to just kind of process and catch up on movies and books and records and just dive right into stuff and really enjoy it, not just kind of like hit and run a little bit. But, again, I am excited for this to come out. Did my pre-order through Amazon, so I can't wait. I'm going to have to eat my Wheaties and stay in shape and vitamin up because, there's rumors of a second wave of the and, we won't get, you've heard me vent enough as it is. So I'm just want to focus on Sign of the Times right now. But like I say, just, let's eat our Wheaties and eat our vegetables, and, let's get some sun, and let's get our vitamins and wear our masks. And, I'm taking the weekend off because I'm going to just immerse myself into that whole experience. Like I said, it was my favorite album from, I would say from April of 1987 all the way through even the release of the Sign of the Times movie. There hasn't been one single note from that album that did not have a direct or an indirect influence on my life that year. And that was, by the end of that summer, I was living in California, and that was a new experience. And, just having those notes with me all the way along the way, even, like I said, even before then, just, because it was still living, just living here, before California, it was just, man, like I said, every single note, like I said, had a direct or an indirect influence, or it was always in the background, or, man, so, I don't know. Actually, one of the next What's in the Crate blog posts, I'm still behind. I'm still trying to catch up, and I'm trying to finish an album I'm currently, writing about now. But I think after that one's done, I'll do a Sign of the Times blog post about that. So yeah, definitely What's in the Crate. It's on WordPress. Definitely check it out. And I'll put up I'll let you guys know when I'll do the Sign of the Times one. There is a parade one that's up now. So if you want to check that out, by all means, go back and check that out. But yeah, again, Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition. I'm getting the CDs, probably get the vinyl later on at some point. Like I said, I'm pretty cool with the 2015 master of the vinyl. Like I said, right now, that is probably the best listening experience until you get your Super Deluxe version. So, but what's most important is, what do you guys think? Which version are you getting? Let me know in the comments, and let me know your thoughts. Are you excited about this one? Are you excited about the next one? And if so, what is it? Let's get out here and, keep this thing going. There's a lot more print stuff to go, and, and like I say, let's keep ourselves going long enough to enjoy each and every new thing that comes out from the estate. So we're going to actually end this episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. And of course, you can always follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And please continue to download and listen on your favorite podcast platform, and like and subscribe on YouTube. And again, check out my What's in the Crate blog on WordPress. Also, too, there's Amari merchandise. There's Amari Purple Talk t-shirts, Amari Purple Talk drinking mugs. There's also other Amari style merchandise that's designed by me. So definitely, help a brother out to do my own thing. Go out and support. And as always, again, thanks for tuning in, and always keep it purple and on the one.